Hello, everyone. Welcome to SureFire Live. I got the message out late tonight, so I thought I had made the stream and the posts, and I got into this studio called StreamYard, and nothing had been sent out. So hopefully you can join me. We've had some nice crowds building lately, and we've had really nice people, especially after the show's over. They respond to it. So I think it's a good thing. And thank you for joining me tonight. A couple things I wanted to talk about was, employees. This week, I'm going to talk about, we had a really cool event with employees, and we had just an amazing day and things with our group. But with that being said, that's the challenge, right? Growing a team with people, hiring people, getting them to follow along. I talk to business owners every day, and yesterday we had 3 companies come visit us in Nashville for different reasons. Some of them were in town for the big music shows that were happening. So a lot of times when people come in for big events, they come down to see us, and I always love, having them come to see the way we operate. I think it's very helpful to watch another company operate. And but one of the challenges with smaller companies is getting employees and getting them to want to do this kind of work, wanting them to stay with you, not steal from you, not start their own company, and not, to be, to help you versus hinder you. And I'm going to get into that because it's a two-sided equation, right? Hiring people and then hiring them into your company. There's a lot there. There's 2 sides of that, right? And so we're going to go through that. I also had a bunch of questions that people asked on some Facebook about some basic business questions about how I would answer them. So I'm probably going to start the show with those things. I will say too, something cool happened. Frank Martola came and visited me, and he has a company called Brandtastic, and they do website stuff. And he just was in town for the Alan Jackson show, and he met with me. But then he sent me this video of his company bought my Blue Collar Boss book. And it's the second book I just wrote recently and released. It's actually on hardback now. I work with Ingram Books, and it's out. I haven't promoted it too much yet. I need to get the voiceover done for it, so that because I think Audible is pretty much the #1 way a lot of people take in content, especially books. But this is the book called Blue Collar Boss, and it's basically my lessons on what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to end up doing a podcast and a video series on the book, kind of breaking it down in long format. But I want to show you something that Frank sent me that I thought was just super cool. Also, before I say that, this is open format. I have learned that I'm not seeing all the contacts or all the comments. If you are on the SureFire Facebook page, I can see those comments. So if you can join me on there and you want to comment, that's where they pop up on my screen. Hey, Frank. Hey, I'm going to show that video that you sent, that you gave me about your team in that book. So thanks. Me and Frank had a great morning. We got breakfast, found out he was a drummer, and I had a drum set, and we're working out a deal. And then he came and visited us and took a nice video. And so I'm going to show, hey, caulk is not the solution. I don't know who that is, but I love that tag. That is a great one. But I'm going to show what you sent me, Frank, real quick, because it made my day, man. So I'm going to share the screen, share the window. So Frank sent me this. Share. Hopefully you can see this. And then what was amazing about it was this part where she marked up the whole book. Like, what they had in there was just incredible. All the notes from the chapters and little tag marks to flip back to it. And I'll tell you, I've had that happen to me when I've read some books where it just became eye-opening. And what they did, that to me, Frank, could not have been a better, like, or a bigger compliment. And that's all I write these books for, is hopefully some things that I say matters to somebody, because I love when a book hits me like that. And just that video itself. And then the next one was, make sure you're seeing this one. The notes, get rid of, oh, that's what you're seeing, that. Close window. Hang on one second. I'm going to do one more view, share screen, and window. This one where they were flipping through the notes. I think this is a gentleman on this one from his hand. Hopefully I'm right, but like, I think this is another person that he, get to the play button, was just going through the notes. And he just made notes in the chapters of what jumped out to him. And I love the all caps and exclamation points. And that just means everything to me. So again, dog training example. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Certificate. Yeah. So man, thank you again for making my day and showing me that. And then Frank just said, now it's a Google Doc and another weekly meeting I need to attend. So yeah, that was just a great way to start off, to end the week for us. And then we went from, we had early morning breakfast, and then he came and visited us, and we had our company event for just an annual event that we had. We used to do a thing with employees in the summer, and we go rent boats and do stuff on the lake, and we called it Splash Busters. And we had a lot of fun till we tore up a bunch of boats, and everybody would just tore the jet skis up and boats and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. We had company events where we went to play paintball until one of our guys blew out his knee playing paintball in a huge workman's comp claim. So we do stuff that's not high energy now at company events on company time. And if it's on company time, we're doing, as close to knitting as we can do. So we went and played putt-putt at Tiger Woods' place here in Nashville called Pop Stroke. Super fun. We had a company team building day in the morning. We announced our, our Chimney Collective group joining, and we had some of the partners from the Chimney Collective come and talk to everybody. Absolutely fantastic day. And then we went and played Pop Stroke. We've got some pretty funny videos from that. So, what I'm going to talk about tonight is the employees and building a team, because we had, 60 people at this event, and not everybody could make it, but we, in the chimney side, we have close to 70 employees, and we're getting ready to add probably 10 more this year at least. And we got to buy 7 trucks in the next couple of weeks and for the season. And, we're growing and we're pushing the envelope. And I want to talk to you about what that looks like for you, but you can't do it without people. And you can't grow a big team without really good leadership, especially, I think, in the blue collar world, where these blue collar, 99% of them blue collar guys need good leadership to want to do this work and to follow and to grow with you. And Chris said, we do quarterly unity days. Nice. Helps with the company culture. Absolutely does. Those kind of things help you know each other on a different level. If you don't do something, they tend to just come to work and go home, and it's just a means to an end. But when you start to have, I saw some study, I need to look at it, but if your people have a best friend at work, their likelihood of staying with you, it goes up exponentially. There's a big deal with, everybody's like, oh, I'm just here to work and I don't need to be friends with everybody. True, but it sure does help. It sure does help to like the people you're with. It helps to respect the people you're with. Now, it can go too far. They can be way too friendly and do dumb stuff, and like friends would versus colleagues. But I think it's very helpful to be friendly with your group, respect each other, do fun things. But I'll tell you this, it takes a good leader on top of all that to work, because with friends, they can do sideways stuff. But if there's a good leader, it helps. The leader sets the tone for everything, and how you are will be how they are. And then when they get outside of your bounds, you have to do that quick little, and what, one of those notes was the dog, training dog philosophy that I have, and I will go ahead and say it, and you may have heard me say it before, but it's one of my favorite analogies. When I was in young teenager, we used to breed and train Shetland sheepdogs. And I used to show the dogs. We did all the dog shows and stuff, and you would train. I remember having my dog that was just right there with me. She was super smart. But when you learn to train a dog, you have real quick, small corrections. And not that employees are dogs. I don't mean that at all. But the analogy stands, which is when your dog is not doing something, you have real quick, little short jerks on the chain while they're learning on a chain. Eventually they get off that and you don't have chain, and it's all hand commands, and eventually it's no commands. It just knows just little bitty movements. The dog knows what to do. But at first, when you're training, you have to do little short jerks on the chain if it's looking the wrong way or it's doing the wrong thing, to get its attention back where it needs to go. And then you don't let the dog run, 15 feet out and, it's messing up. And then all of a sudden you jerk it back real hard and get it back by your side, and the dog comes flying. You do real short, real fast corrections when the thing's going a little bit sideways or not paying attention. I feel that is a great analogy for employees. A lot of leaders will not say the little thing quick. They will wait till they've been late a bunch and then they're mad, or they will wait till they've done something way too long, and then you make a giant correction and the employee's like, oh man, why are you so mad? I didn't know. I had no idea that this was a problem. And because you as a leader didn't say anything or do anything about it till it was a big deal in your mind. You would say, well, I hope it gets better. I hope they stop doing that, and not really mention it, versus saying something super fast right now, instantly, as soon as it's wrong. And I talked about a situation we had a week ago with an employee, different company. And this week, just yesterday, the guys, we have team chats and things, and the guys are going back and forth, and then, they're talking about how hot it's going to be. And man, I have the utmost respect for the guys working in this kind of heat. And we talk about heat all the time and mitigating and all the things. But one guy put a meme out and it had a cuss word in it. It had the F word in it. And it would, some people laugh, but that's an easy thing to just not say anything about or say something about. Real quick, I said, hey, no cussing on this thread. No cussing on company threads. Quick. Boom, bump. Guy sent me a personal text. Super sorry, I deleted it. And but I do that all the time. As soon as something is a little bit out of line, not way out of line, I have to correct it instantly. And so that's my analogy. That's really good leadership that helps people set the boundaries right away. And when you come to visit my company, you'll see it. You'll see how people treat each other, how they talk to each other, how they are. We'll say kind of almost all the same things when you talk to my leaders. And a lot of people, when they talk to our group, they're like, oh, wow, this is, same message, same feel through and throughout. Even with the new people, learn how to talk, how to respect each other. And I remember a friend of mine, Jack Pixley, passed several years ago, super mentor, super great teacher. He used to say, Mark, we're not really in the chimney business, and we're not in the chimney technician business. We're in the man building business. We are in the employee growth business. We are there to help them learn how to be better people, men, family people, family men. And I took that seriously. I felt like that's right, and learn. And sometimes helping them grow and learn is being hard on them, right? That's part of it. Not being nice. It's being, I care about you, yet I'm going to chap you when you go off the thing. And that is good for men. Men do well under that. When you think about if you ever played sports, the most memorable times was when you had a coach that was hard on you. You had somebody that really kicked your butt, but you appreciate him. You had somebody that taught you really hard lessons, said something, did something. Well, that's what good leadership is too, in the right way. When you really care about them and you're trying to help them get better. And then, and sometimes a bully is right. Sometimes you're getting bullied and that person is right. And sometimes the bully teaches you the hard lesson that everybody that was super nice around you wouldn't say. And the bully says it. And you're like, oh, they're a bully. Well, are they? I mean, are they just because they called you out on your thing that you probably needed to be called out on? And so I like that kind of leadership where I'm nice, but I'm real clear and transparent on what I need to tell you and believe in. I don't want to hold it in. I got a couple more things. Yeah, so Tom, profanity is the dried mud on the work van. That's so funny. Hey, Tom, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, you have to cut that out in the company, I think. I have to use that very sparingly and or ever don't do it, especially company wide. You can't allow those kind of things to just be okay. And you can't allow the guys to really like give each other a hard time or rile each other up on company threads. One, most of the people aren't interested in it and they turn the thread off, which hurts your company. And two, whatever's happening and you're allowing that to happen, right? You're that consequence, you're allowing it to happen. And so that's where leadership really steps in and just stops things like that. Tom also said it's the running the red light at rush hour in traffic with the company logo and phone number on the back doors. Yeah, that's good, man. I hope you're doing well, Tom. Good to see you, buddy. So that is my quick thing that happens to me all the time. Like leadership is a thing that's going to happen. As the leader, you're going to be called on leadership all the time. Today, I got a text from a customer that was not happy with the tuck pointing job we did on some steps. And, you know, I see our work all the time and our work looks really good. We do a good job of matching work and keeping it clean and all those things. Well, she sent me this text and pictures of it, and it looks like hot garbage. I mean, it's terrible. Well, my project manager already was going to send the technician out to finish the job. Kind of like he didn't tuck point all of it. It's supposed to be a full tuck point of these stairs, and he did a like what we call a partial tuck point, but the mortar didn't match at all. It was like, I said, okay, this is complete crap. We got to have a meeting on this tomorrow morning. We got to call this out for what it is. It's a full we're going to grind out all your work that you already did because the mortar doesn't match. We're not just going to fix the rest of it. We're going to start over and do this again. This is a learning lesson. This will not pass. And this technician's been with me a long time. I think he's been with me 8 years. And he might have messed up when it was all wet. It looked like it was going to match. And then when it dried out super white. It just doesn't match at all. So anyway, leadership is a daily grind. It's a daily message in a good way. Yeah, I care. Like in our company meeting, you know, the running thought was how good the culture was and how Mark cares about us and Mark wants the best for us. But that doesn't mean Mark lets you run all over me. And it also means that I'm not super hard on you. But when I am hard on you, there's a real good reason for it. And you need to pay attention to it. I had a technician that is new and he was mad one day. He didn't like the routing. The routing had gaps in it. Everybody knows how it goes, especially in the slower time of year. Sometimes you take a job and the drive time's terrible and the customer was supposed to be there at the front end of the appointment, but they were running to the late end of the appointment. So he had this huge gap. Technician's sitting there. He didn't want to wait for the customer to be there. And so he's like, we'll reschedule. And man, I lost it on this guy. I'm like, we do not do that. You know, and he got snippy with me and I immediately called a meeting with him and said, you are in the wrong business. You are in the wrong company. If you think that going home on a 3 o'clock on a great, nice, sunny Thursday is okay when we have customers that, you know, and so it's just a quick thing. Don't get mad. Don't ever react when you're super emotional. You have to take a break and pull back from it, gather yourself, come back to the thing, and then address it. Address it soon. Don't address it being mad. And if another technician is mad, you can't be mad as the leader. Two people can't be mad at once. I'll just let them be mad. As long as it doesn't get personal or whatever, I'll let them go. and I'll let them get it out. This is hard work, and men need to be able to vent sometimes. It just can't be disrespectful. And if I get mad, you better shut up and listen to me vent on it for a minute, understand what I'm saying, come back to me and we can talk. It's a rare day that I get that way, but if I get that way, we better not have two people mad, because this isn't going to work. And so I think that is, again, I'm not sure how I quite got off on that tangent, but that's how I handle conflict. Because, you just have it. You can't have all these men that are walking around doing this hard work without conflict. It's just going to happen. So you got to get really good at managing it, and they got to trust you. And sometimes trust is built through fighting. It's built through, you sharpen each other through friction. Everything is not easy, and that doesn't make a stronger team. What makes a stronger team is the friction. Sometimes you rubbing up against another powerful, strong person, or an idea that is grinding, and you got to grind this out and come to the thing. That's okay. That's good stuff. That's what makes the whole team stronger, when you can do this and then you can come to an agreement and come out of it. And it's not personal. It's not bad. It's friction, which that's how a company grows. You only grow through friction. You can't add enough grease to the track and everything just always goes smoothly and grow a giant company with no conflict. You grow through conflict. You get better through healthy conflict, not arguing, calling people's names, anything personal. But healthy conflict is very good to grow a company, and it's needed. And you'll see it with good leaders, that they're not afraid of healthy conflict, and their team isn't either. There's a great book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which is by Patrick Lencioni, which is a great book on team building. And you'll see, if you're trying to build a team, you'll see dysfunctions of your own team that he identifies, and he identifies how to get through them. But read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and tell me how great that book is, and how that will help you build team trust. And that conflict is totally necessary. Levi says, using the core values to guide the employees makes it so much nicer. It's not personal. Core values and policies make you not be the bad guy, but it does make you the steward of the culture. It makes you responsible. Like, here's the policy we all agreed on, and the policy can be the bad guy because they agreed on it too, and they said this is the policy, and now I used to use the policy kind of as not the bad guy, but this is just what it is. You said you would do this, you didn't. Here's the consequence. There's no real emotion in it. And I don't mind doing that at all now. Our policies are pretty clean, very fair. And then to his point, your core values, if you can identify those and then hire and fire or give warnings on when you violate, whatever your core values are, that is an easy way to run the company. Now, I would say this, if you're going to develop core values, is that you as the leader just don't develop the core values and give them out to the team and, cast your brilliance upon the employees of your core values. It's a team effort to know what the core values are. And the core values are what you really are now, not what you want to be. So your core values are, we do these 3 things or 4 things, and then it's a team effort to build it. And then it's more likely to have buy-in. If you just come down on high or go to ChatGPT and figure out what your core values are, that it's not going to mean anything. But if you work with them and go through an exercise half day or all day on what our core values are as a company, it's a fantastic exercise, and it helps build a lot of trust. And then through your company meetings, reward people that know what the company values are and the core values are. And then also bonus on them. Say he displayed this core value to the T, and we're going to reward that, or we're going to acknowledge that is a great way to use core values. So thank you, Levi. I think I had some questions, and man, this time already flies. I'm 30 minutes in almost, but let me see. Bree sent me questions. So let me just go over these. So questions so far: what habits have had the biggest impact on your success? So I'll tell you the one habit for sure that has absolutely been the biggest change in my entire life is continuous reading of books. Now, I don't mean fantasy and anything like that. I mean self-development, marketing, leadership. uh, biographies of successful people. I've read close to 1,000 books now in that format, and or listened to. Probably read about 600 or 700 of those, and listened to about 400 of those. And I can listen to books and then recite them and know where the lesson came from. And I've got some tricks on how I read and remember that many books. But I think the number one habit for sure is reading and listening, then making notes on that book, and then rereading my notes. Or on Audible, you can clip and then re-listen to where you clipped. If you're driving down the road and there's a clip feature when you're listening, and then I go back. I was like, oh, that was a good clip. Just like that person that read my Blue Collar Gold or Blue Collar Boss book. They made all these notes. Well, you can do that digitally too. And like my favorite book ever was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've read that book now 9 times, and every time it's different. And I have it. I gave it away at one point. So, and I just ordered 5 of these books today, because I always give it away and I always make it part of my training and leadership of my whole team. And that I want to have, you got to read that book with a highlighter, and then you got to highlight what mattered. Then we do a quick book report on it. Or if you listen to an Audible, I look at your book clips and we review the clips that you have from it. But that is probably the number one thing, a habit that I have. And then the next habit I would say is I'm just continuously the same, as far as I believe my number one habit in leadership with my team is that morning meetings, being around in the mornings, even as the team grows, and be there for them when we launch the show, is super important to keep the team aligned and together for me. Now, I know some people don't like to go into work. Sometimes some leaders want to show up at 10, they start playing a lot of golf, and you really don't want to talk to the employees necessarily because they've got to a certain point, and good for you. But it's also a quick way to learn or to lose some control and edge, and staying really involved with the guys, knowing them. You know, I say this a lot. I work for my employees, and I say it all the time. And they work for my customers. So my job when I go in is, what can I do for them? How can I build a company? How can I give them more opportunity? How can I make sure they're in a good environment, and make sure I help grow them as people and make them better than they were when they started with me? It's not really what I can get out of them. I never think that way. It's if I pour into them, give them a direction, give them an accountability piece, and watch them grow. It's the most exciting thing I could ever do as a leader. But also, some men don't take that very well, and they're not good at it, and they can't work for me. You have to go on. You have to go somewhere else, because I'm not into trying to lead unleadable people, and they're out there. And so that's probably my 2 biggest lessons. And my main one is reading. If you're not reading 12 books a year, you're getting behind. You're falling behind. Again, imagine if you could read a book a month or listen to a book a month. I also speed the books up. If I'm on listening, I speed them up to 1.3 to 1.4 is about as fast as I like to listen to them. And I can get through a lot of books. But let's just, you're reading 12 books a year. Let's just say you do that for 5 years. You're going to have 60 books in your brain. After 5 years, you're going to be a different person if you put 60 business, self-development, improvement books through your head. You will and it'll start to come back out when you're talking. You'll hear these things happen. And then also you become a lot more aware of these books. Like if you've ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you can immediately see people who haven't read it. You just identify that person quickly. They do not know the rules of the game and the rules of life according to, some of these books that are very influential. Another great book I will say is, I really liked a lot, was called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. And that is a fantastic book to learn how happiness really works. A lot of people wait for their life to be right. And then they're going to be happy if all these things line up. And if I get this raise or make this much money or I can do this, then I'll be happy. And really, life is quite opposite of that. You be happy where you are and grateful for where you are, and more comes to you, and you move that with it. And he talks about the kids at Harvard and how they were actually the most, when he was there, it was the most miserable place on earth. It looked like Hogwarts, but kids were totally depressed, suicidal, and they shouldn't be, right? They're some of the smartest, best off kids in the world, yet they're super depressed. And he studied that, and he shows a lot of how that works. So those are a couple big wins for me. Next question was from David Trumbull. He said, knowing what you know today, if you were starting your chimney company from scratch, what would you do differently and why? So that's a great question. Last week's show, somebody said, you guys are always talking about these big companies. I wish you would talk about, the little guys and just starting over. And so I've talked a lot about that for years. And I wrote a book about how to do it, which is not self-promoting, but self-promoting. It's called Blue Collar Gold. And it shows how I started from a one truck operation for a very long time, 17 years, up into we started to scale and grow it. So, but what I would do different, one, we have so much more knowledge with the internet and YouTube and all this stuff. Even talking to you tonight, this didn't happen 40 years ago, right? But I would think the number one thing you must do differently is think bigger than you think right now. And, I just had 3 companies come in, and one of the things I try to pour, and they're all one-man operations. One company had 3 trucks, another one had 2, I think, and another one had 1. And what I try to get them to do is help them realize that it's in their head how big they can be, and it's in their work ethic and what they spend their time on. Growing the company is a mental game. It's a trust game. It is, it is a belief that you can do it. And then, you got to put the work behind it. It's not like that book called The Secret, where all you had to do was just think about what you wanted in this life enough and it would come true. Well, that's only in part true. It's, what you think about and then what you get your ass up and do is then that's what comes true. That's what comes true. But I would say that that is kind of the thinking bigger than where you are. And I've talked about this a lot, but this is a general framework. Like, one, you got to know where you kind of want to go. Like, you might look at my company and say, man, I want to be that size or bigger. Okay, great. Or you see you're at 2 trucks now and you say, well, I just, when I ask people how, what's the plan? I think I want to add a truck or 2. So that right there is a losing thing. I think I want to maybe grow a truck or 2. Well, like, why? And 2, if you just think you want to, that probably won't happen. Get a game plan. Again, I think an easy game plan in the chimney industry, and it's very conservative, yet very doable and very scalable and controllable, is 1 truck a year for 5 years. 1 truck a year for 5 years should be absolutely in your written down. Everybody knows we're growing 1 truck this year. We're looking for that person. We're getting them trained. We're getting them out there. This season, we add another truck. That's not stretching it. You can definitely control that. And 1 truck a year for 5 years is, you probably got 1 or 2 trucks now. So 7 trucks in 5 years. That's a good sized business. Now, again, Ryan Crenshaw says 10 trucks is the plan for us. So Ryan, I would say 10 trucks by when? So where are you now? And I know I think he's got multiple trucks for sure. And then, so 10 trucks is his plan, but by when? And so that's what those goals are, is like, for us, we're adding 7 trucks this year. We're going to add 7 trucks next year. Everybody in the company knows that's the plan. So you're at 3 trucks and 10 so you want to be 10 trucks by when, Ryan? Is that 2 trucks a year for, 3 more years, or like when? Maybe you haven't thought of it, but 10 trucks is a great size company. You can kind of have a little bit of a different life, and you're building real enterprise value in a company that runs 10 trucks. Ideally, in the US, that should probably be somewhere in the $3 million range for 10 trucks, but maybe more, depends on your average truck. sale, but average, service truck brings in somewhere between 250 and 350. Average repair truck brings in between 500 and 800,000 typically. Some people are above that. But in this case, let's just say average 350,000 in 10 trucks, you're a $3.5 million revenue company. Now that doesn't mean anything if you're spending it all and you have no money left over. I've seen companies be at 3 million and the owner puts $1 million in his pocket, and I've seen people have $3 million, $5 million company and can't make payroll next week. So very different. The top line is vanity in some ways, but I like knowing that top line, because if you can get that much work coming in and being produced, you can work on all the little things to make yourself more profitable. So I like that plan. But my point is vision. Back to David's question, what would I do differently? I would just think bigger. I would get around people that are thinking bigger. I would try to put myself in those conversations or follow them. Larry Winget, I was a big fan of Larry because he was a professional speaker. He had 7 New York Times bestsellers. And I'm like, man, I like that guy. I remember the first time he responded back to me when I commented on one of his Facebook posts. I'm like, my God, he had a TV show on one of A&E, is called Big Spender, where he went in and helped people straighten out their spending. And he was just a fascinating guy. He was on Fox all the time talking about just common sense stuff. He's retired now, but actually he broke his back. He fell off a ladder working on something on his house, ironically enough, but we became good friends. He helped me write my first book. He actually named my first book for me, but I bought his time. He is a very expensive program to get around him. You had this multi-month program. He helped you write a book. He helped you professionally speak. And how he helped you was he would run you in the ground. If you got on stage and we had to do all these exercises and he would just run you, everybody's scared to get up and talk in front of Larry because he's in this professional speaker hall of fame. He's that good. He's funny. He's engaging. And when you get up there to talk, he's not going, yeah, you're so good. You're amazing. No. He's like, stop doing this. You look ridiculous. Whatever your story is, I don't care. Make me care. And so I did my chimney sweep thing, and he and I became fast friends because he said this right off the bat. He goes, the main thing about you, Mark, when you're talking to a group is I believe you. He said, that's hard to do when you're talking from stage. He said, the main reason that I want to work with you to go further is because I believe what you're saying is real. And that's a lot of these life coaches and energy coaches and some consultants don't really quite know what they're talking about. So it was a compliment, but I bought his time. His programs are very expensive. But when you get around those people, they act and work differently. You learn how they work and think. And that's as valuable as any money I've ever spent. I've spent a lot of money on being coached and being in programs, and I've never come around going, wow, that was a waste. If I pour into it and then take from that and then build from it, always worth 1,000 times more than I ever spent on it. Tom said Larry is the Gordon Ramsay of small business. Completely true. Look him up. I mean, his books are legendary. You're stupid because you're broke because you want to be. Just like all these, he's got 7 books and the titles are hilarious. So he's one of the title kings. Quick story: when I was trying to come up with, I was on stage and we were coming up with the title of everybody's books, and he's like, "Well, give me your premise." And I said, "Well." This was in 2015 or 2014. I said, I think the blue collar work is going to be the gold mine in the future because we have spent decades telling our kids, go to school, get a degree so you can have a great life. We've cut out shop class. The same story Mike Rowe does. We've told people that blue collar work is, a consolation prize, and that you should do something else. Go to school. Don't do that work. That's only if you're stupid or you don't have good grades or, you're not going to make it there. Do blue collar. And I said, that's the wrong message. I said, we're charging so much per hour, and our guys are making way more than college graduates right now. And now it's even more true than ever was. And they're coming out with no debt. I think if you can learn to build a service-based business and learn to lead men, it's a gold mine. And he said, okay, let me think about it. He goes, and instantly he said, because I said, I think it's a gold mine in blue collar work. And he goes, instantly, he said, blue collar gold, how to build a service business from the dirt up. And I'm like, and we both just like, I said, that is it. That is an amazing name. And he just, boom, nailed it. So anyway, I will buy people's time. If there's somewhere want to be, get around them, ask some questions, listen to them. If they have their time for sale, buy it. Go get around them. You will be changed, I promise. And that it is, if they will give you your time, if it's volunteer, great, but don't expect it. I paid Larry a lot of money, and now, of course, we're friends, but I would have never known him and seen how he was unless I paid for his time, because he's a busy guy and he moves in a different circle. I want to get in that circle, figure out how to get in that circle, and you will change everything about your trajectory. All right. So then another question was, let's see here. Maddie questions so far. Jeremy Maynard said, what do you think the future of our industry will become with improvements to heating and cooling, and also the impact of AI and private equity? Ooh, that's a deep question. Okay, so no matter what happens with improvements in HVAC or whatever, fire is as primitive as anything, right? Back, people have been dipping their bodies into pools of water and building fire. So pools, water, spa, and then also fire it's in us. People want it. They like it. There's something, primal about it. I think that fire will always be part of our enjoyment of life. That's one thing. But secondly, there's millions and millions of chimneys that have been built that are sitting on top of houses, and they're going to start leaking, deteriorating, falling down. And that, no matter what, they're going to have to be fixed, because you can't just take them all off the house, right? You can't just chimney delete every one of them. They're going to have to be fixed. Some people are going to want to use them. Some people won't. Now, the sweeping of chimneys is going to go drastically down. That sweeping of creosote, that's not, I hope you're not building your business on sweeping of creosote, but inspections of chimneys, absolutely. Levels of inspections to make sure when you do use it, when you want to, you're not burning your house down. Absolutely. It's in the code, but also the leaks of chimneys, the high efficiency of chimneys when you do want to use it, the beauty of a new fireplace, like all those things are still, when you look at Pinterest and you look at YouTube, it's cool. Fire features are still gigantic in everybody's like best houses. So to that point, Jeremy, man, the future's super bright for us. Now, but again, you've got to switch your company from a chimney sweep company. If it's in your name, you need to change it. If it's part of all your advertising, that's not the main thing. But the other side, the chimney construction, the chimney restoration, the chimney improvement, the leak stopping, the inspection safety of using your fireplace, that's just like a big future side. Like for me, like relining of furnaces will eventually go away, right? You're not relining orphan flues, and the water heaters are being invented differently, and relining of things that could be in trouble as fuel sources change and that kind of things. And probably a lot of guys who are in relining a lot have seen a dip in that, but you got to switch marketing and everything from that, what we used to do is not going to be what we're going to do in the future. And you just better be ready for it. So again, I've said with AI, dude, that's why private equity is so interested in us, is because we're AI proof. We were COVID proof. We all got through it. We were deemed necessary or essential. And then AI now coming along, that's wiping out data analysis and, lawyer, like a lot of people that do analysis and that's all going away. And a lot of people are scared, but AI only superpowers blue collar guys. There's not going to be a robot that comes in. AI is not going to change it. It's only going to help us. So the more you can get into AI and understand how it can build your business through making your company stronger, better, marketed better policies, better SOPs, man, use AI. It answers our phones now. It does a pretty good job of answering phones. His name is Ashton. He's pretty good. He books at a 66% booking rate. And our girls book at 85%, but he's booking in off hours, but when we're not there, or holidays, or in overflow situation, he's picking up the phone, handling stuff, booking appointments, answering questions, getting prices, rescheduling appointments. If somebody calls in for a reschedule, he can reschedule it. And dude, he hasn't complained to me once yet. I've complained about him when he said something wrong or did something, but and boom, instantly changed, never a problem. So I would get AI in your company, especially on some routing and some phone answering. I will do one shameless plug. If you don't have that in your company, Chad Murray and myself and his brother have spent 5 years developing a very cost-effective CRM that schedules all your appointments. It has live agent booking. It has live agent routing. It has forms. It has camera stuff. It has inspection, all built in, and it's relatively cheap. And if you want to look at it, go to servicegalaxy.com. You can do a demo on it and see the price pack. Super affordable. We built it for small companies. If you don't have something now or using something like Jobber or something like that, it's really a nice fit for the smaller, 1 to 5 truck companies. And it's something you should, if you don't have, it's got a lot, we built it AI forward. AI was part of it always. And it helps to, write scripts and it's pretty powerful. So it's servicegalaxy.com. You can see the plans there if you're interested in it. Okay. The next question was, Brianna says, how do you decide what to focus on when there's 100 things competing for your attention? I've got about 10 different enterprises that I run. I will say this, I will get into a company and I will go really deep in it and I will build out programs and processes and then very quickly back out of it, hand all those programs and processes to people and managers and people in charge of it. And then I manage the one person at the top of the organization, like Poppy and Pete, my chocolate company. I went to chocolate school. I learned all that stuff. I got in there. I made all the chocolate. We developed the programs. My daughter developed the way it looked. I developed how it was made. And I very quickly got a high-end chef that came in and took over my role because I knew I wasn't going to be making chocolate that long. But if it were up to the chef, the business would have never been built. If it's up to Mark, I couldn't have kept up with the demand if I built a good business. So I quickly hand off to managers and lead the managers. So, with all the different things we have, and Brianna, you know this, you work for me with the SureFire program. I don't know if this is your question, but I let you run it unless there's a need for me. And then we manage the results, but I'm not managing the day-to-day or micromanaging what you say and what you do. I've given you all that, what to do. And then we watch what happens from there. And then we may have a little course correction here or there, but I could not. Well, the other last thing is, how do you manage it? Well, I don't answer your questions. When, my phone didn't ring one time today. It rang from my daughter, of course, but no technicians called me and nobody needed anything. My chocolate company didn't need me. But what it is when you call me, and you say, hey, Mark, what do we do here? I almost never answer your question without 5 to 10 questions, follow-up questions from you about how do you think we should handle it? What are you going to do? What else do you think we can do? If I give you the answer, if I answer all the phone calls, I get more phone calls. That's just how it works. If you answer every email that comes to you, you get more emails. If you answer every text back, like for that kind of stuff, you get more texts. Okay. So, and then I know you can't ignore them. So I'm not saying that, but get into a rhythm of just asking. The best leaders ask the best questions. So your best thing is to flip it on them and ask them how they would handle it and get them to think like you think. I promise you, if you drop a problem into my company right now, I don't care what it is, random, you will get my exact answer back to you from somebody else, the way I would answer. I mean, because group chats, if you'll put let's just say you have 5 guys, you put the answer or question out to the group, you as the owner better not answer it. You better watch your team answer it. And then if they're off kilter, you need to jump in and say that. If they're on, you need to brag on them. Boom, perfect. That's exactly right. And you teach them to think like you by asking questions, not by telling them, you're the guru, you're the firefighter, you're the teacher. our ego gets wrapped up in that. What you really get excited about is asking them how to handle it. Now, I don't like the old philosophy of, well, if you come to me with a problem, you better have an answer. I don't believe that at all. I think that's one of the worst ways to lead. They'll stop coming to you because they don't have the answer. They don't have all the tools to answer that. So, you can come to me, but I'll ask you how you would fix it. A lot of times they have all the answers. They just needed the confidence that they were right. So that was how I would handle that. Alan says, I remember when I answered every call and every email for SureFire. It was so hard for me to give that up to Brianna. And now the thought of answering one of those makes me cringe. Thanks, Bri. That's true. I mean, Alan, I always give Alan a hard time because, he's so good at what he does. And it was hard for him to scale his company and his processes, but he's learned to do it. And the more he's learned to do it, the better his life has become. The more he's handed these things off, the more his company has grown. He can service more people and he can have a better life versus just being tied to that thing. And sometimes your employees have to do that. My metal fabrication manager, I said, man, you're getting behind on metal fab and I need you to get a lot faster for my crews. I can't own the metal fab company and it'd be faster if I ordered it from somebody else. Like, you've got to stay up with me, not me slow down for you. That's not going to work. He's like, well, because I pay him commission, he gets a piece of every, piece of metal he makes for us. And he said, well, I'm going to have to split the money with him. I'm like, you're seeing it completely wrong. I said, because yes, you get 100% of the stuff, but you're going to be a lot better off getting 50% or 5 or 10 with a big company than you are doing 100% of everything. You got to start handing this off. And then once he got that, he's then started hiring. Now he runs my powder coat division where he's got 10 to 12 people under him, and a metal fab, which has 2 to 3 guys in it. So he manages 12, 13 people. He's got the best life he's ever had. So that's how I do it, is I empower people. Bottom line, I empower you to go. And I am not your overseer, but I will be the boss. I will make sure we're on the right path, but I'm not going to be your overseer. And so that frees my life up a lot. I've gone way too long on this question. I never got to even the topic yet. And I have to leave tonight to go look at a building here in a little bit that my daughter and I are thinking about moving our chocolate production kitchen into. So I got to go meet a guy at 8:00 tonight to look at something. But let me just go back to, I might as well answer the questions. Last one, anonymous, was, what is it like to work? What's it like to work with Bree and Maddie? They seem like the best and most fun to work with. Anonymous, man, that's a hard question because, this is where leadership is really stressed and really pressed. When you have two, ladies that think they know everything, they think they're the best, their egos are gigantic. And so, I have to coach them up like Alan did. He kind of bragged on them a little bit, but we really didn't mean it. So in this case, you kind of got to be fake. It's like the leadership fakeness that you've got to learn with them is how I deal with them. But honestly, they are truly amazing. They make our whole SureFire experience great. If you've ever called us and you need SureFire training, you've talked to most likely Bree, but maybe Maddie, and they are fantastic. They're best. They're funny. They're always joyful, or they act like they are. And I get compliments on them all the time. When we go to a trade show, everybody wanted to see Bree and Maddie, and most of them know Bree, and she's just been with us for a very long time. She's a great representative of us, and so I'm super thankful for them, and I'm lucky to have them. Maddie has taken on a little bit of a new role for us with marketing, and she's helping. We've got our Built to Sell program, and I might as well pitch that real quick. Part of the thing I mentioned before was I paid money to get around people who knew what they were doing. So, Larry Wingate had his programs. I bought them. And this was like 10 years ago. It was $30,000 for me. And it was like an unbelievable amount to be around these people for, a monthly program and then an intensive. But man, it generated my book. It helped me do the podcast, helped me do what I'm doing now. I've done tons of keynote speaking, and just being around those people that did it just helped me do it. So segue to built to sell. As many of you know, I've just gone through an acquisition where I sold my company and I now own part of another bigger company. And a lot of people are doing this. And if you're interested in doing that at some point, doesn't need to be this year or next year, but to position yourself in that way, get around people who have done it, know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, know how to guide you, know what it looks like. We built this program called SureFire Built to Sell. And that I always read a book called Built to Sell. You start with the end in mind and you build your company for that day, whether it comes in a month, whether it comes unexpectedly. Most people don't make it through retirement the way they think, because health comes around, changes come around, and you're not, just get launched out at 62 to 65 and everything is fine. That's a rare day if you look at the stats. So prepare early enough so you're ready whenever that day comes, or you're just tired of it, or you need to take a break, or your wife has a health crisis, or your kids have something, or somebody needs you and you want to be done, or you're just done. You have options. That's what I've always loved about building businesses. The reason I keep building businesses the way I do is I love the options that it provides for me. I do have another comment that just came in. Levi said, thanks, Mark. I would love to buy some of your time someday and learn from others like you. Hey, get out the checkbook. Now, I give away my time all the time. I had 3 companies come in and we walk through. I do have a program called Blue Collar University where you come in and we spend 2 days building your company. But let me stay focused on Built to Sell because it starts at my company for 2 days. We launched the thing in August. 10-month program. You're going to be around the best people in the industry, people who buy businesses, have sold businesses, who coach businesses, who are in the process of it. Like all the center of the universe of buying and selling and understanding this new world that we're into in chimneys is we've joined them together. And so go to surefireb2s.com, take a look at it. And it'll explain the program. I think it's super well worth the money. We have the best people that you could ever buy time from, learn from them, ask them questions, make sure you're setting yourself up right for your future. So that was great. And thank you for the anonymous thing with Bree and Maddie. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly say what my whole topic was supposed to be tonight, which was employees love and hate them. And chapter 1 of my book, I start with he was quitting that day. And it's a quick story, and some of you know this, but this one day, gosh, probably 10 years ago or so, this young, energetic guy had worked for me. He was a hard worker, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, a little bit of an attitude, but hustler, go-getter. And randomly one day I got a message that he was quitting. I'm like, wow, I'm super surprised he's quitting. I thought he was all in. We were pouring into him and he was working hard. So, I set him down. I brought him into the office. I asked for an exit interview. I don't always do that, but in this case, I really wanted to find out what was going on. He brought up some good points. He said, I think we should, some of the stuff he said we should do differently was right. Like we need to give more time on our new appointment. If we called them white jobs when we never been there. He had some great points. I'm like, good stuff. Wish you wouldn't told me, not when you were leaving, but when you were working for me. But he said, but the main reason I'm quitting, and we were in my office and I was sitting at a round table. I usually had a round table and I had my desk in there. And he pointed over to my desk and he said, I want to be sitting there. And I said, okay. He said, I want to be in your position. And I said, I respect that, but I don't, you've been at it 1 year and I don't think you quite know the pressure of what you're talking about. And, you could look around and say, I want that, but I don't think you understand what it is to actually do that. And I will say this, when I was 22, you definitely wouldn't want to have been sitting in that position at Ashbusters. I was still working in a factory. I was doing this part-time on the side. I was broke and there's nothing at 22. At 32, I had gone through a divorce. I was still broke. I was still one truck operation. Nobody looked at me at 32 and said, oh man, he's got it together. He understands business and leadership and EBITDA and all the stuff now. I'm like, okay, at 42, I was starting to get it together, but actually that was about the time I went broke and had to start all the way over, had 17 employees, had to go back to working by myself. That didn't look good. Nobody wanted that crap. I think I built the worst chimney company in the United States at 42. At 52, okay, yeah, looks pretty dang good. And Mark's starting to live a life and this thing is humming along. And yeah, you want that for sure. You want that. Now I'm 59. So yeah, it was like 7, 8 years ago when I had this conversation. You have no idea what you're talking about and what you're asking for. And what I would recommend is staying with me in the team, help build your knowledge, help build yourself up. If you still want to start down the road, I'm the last guy that would ever stop you from it. But you really have no idea what you're talking about. And I told the story, the analogy of Mount Everest, right? You're looking at my company and there's 100 employees throughout the whole thing, and you probably couldn't handle the pressure of it, but you look at me and think, well, there's no pressure. That was easy. But I'm acclimated to it. The 24-year-old kid couldn't handle this. 34-year-old kid couldn't. I couldn't even get to $1 million to handle that. It was chaos everywhere. But I said, here's the deal. Let's just take Mount Everest. If I flew you in a helicopter immediately and dropped you on top of Mount Everest, you would be dead in about 15 minutes. You couldn't handle the air, the cold, the pressure, nothing. Like if I dropped you in on top of my companies right now, you would crumble. It would be a complete chaos. You'd have a heart attack. You just couldn't handle it. But how they climb Mount Everest is you probably pre-trained and you get to base camp 1. You live at base camp 1 for weeks or months. I don't know the time frame, but for a long time you acclimate at base camp 1. And then you go to base camp 2 and you acclimate there for a while. Sometimes you got to come back to base camp 1 and then base camp 2 and base camp 3, back to base camp 2, base camp 3 to 4. Got to be there for a while, and it's getting really tough up there before you summit. You go to the summit, you can't stay there long. You got to come back down. But the people who work with those guys, those Sherpas and stuff, they can run it like it's nothing. They can go up top, they carry all your stuff and be up there, no problem. And where everybody else hadn't been, it's like, this is the hardest thing in the world. And the Sherpas are just like, I could do this. And they get paid to do it and haul all your stuff and haul your stuff off. And it's just easy for them. If you ever want to see something amazing, watch that movie 14 Peaks. That guy who just torched it, that Sherpa guy who torched it with that group, just beat everybody to death. That's kind of what business is like, right? You have to go through the pressure. You have to get an extreme pressure until you're going to break, which would be easy for me. Like if I ran 10 trucks, I could do that in my absolute sleep. Like our team would be so bored to run 10 trucks. But when I was 2 trucks trying to get to 5 trucks, complete chaos, nightmare. We can't handle anymore. Don't hire any more people. Don't grow. And now we've got such a system built out. I'm going to add 7 trucks to our company this year and not 1 more overhead position. We don't need any more people on the phones. We don't need any more project management. We don't need any more anything. We've got the whole foundation built, and we can handle probably 14 trucks. And maybe I'll add a production assistant and maybe a project manager assistant. Maybe. With adding 14 trucks, I'll probably add 2 overhead positions. But I remember when 3 trucks was complete chaos. So my point is, you have to put yourself to pressure. And, said you eat an elephant 1 bite at a time. What I like too is, how do you handle, how do you grow? You bite off more than you can chew, and you learn to chew it. That's all there is to it. You just learn to chew it. You learn to just figure it out while you're in the middle of the pressure and build the company. Learn the lessons. Don't do it again. Build the company from the pressure. There's no way you don't get to leapfrog it. You can't listen to me talk to you about it enough. You can build the company off listening to me, but you got to do the work. You still got to go through the fire. You still got to be galvanized and pressured and pushed and break down and think you can't handle it to where you can handle it. And you look back, you're like, that's even a joke today. I was reaching for this little thing I have on my desk. It's probably reading backwards, but it says the crisis of the day is the joke of tomorrow. I love that. The crisis of today is the joke of tomorrow. You're going through stuff and you're going to look back on it and laugh about it. And you also look back on it and go, why was I so worried about that when it was happening? It's just me and my manager from Knoxville, Jonah, were like, it's just a Tuesday. Well, it used to be just a absolutely epic hard day. It's just a Tuesday now. Levi says, embrace the discomfort. Absolutely. Now, I don't want you to stay in the discomfort. I don't want you to stay there and it's always uncomfortable. That's something you got to figure out. But yeah, you got to be uncomfortable and then you've got to get out of that and fix it. And so you're not always in the rut, always uncomfortable. If you are growing, it is uncomfortable, but it can't stay there. You can't stay there. Keep that pressure. And if it's always like that, you've got to fix something internally, and so that you relieve that pressure. Not all businesses have to stay all pressure all the time. That's a you thing. You got to fix the pressure and relieve it. Then you got to disrupt yourself and build more pressure. But that's how you grow a company, through discomfort, vision, bigger vision, making yourself better, stronger, more foundation, able to handle the pressure, make yourself better. When the leader gets better, the team gets better. That's how it works. The best teams have great leadership. And I can go into a company, and I will say this about hiring. I've worked with Kent, who used to do hiring for us, and I'd watch him hire for other companies. He's like, man, it's easy to hire for Ashbusters because I tell him how great it is, drop them in here, and it is great. Everything that I told him it was, it is that, and it's easy to hire for you. You've got a great backstory, got a great culture, easy to plop them in here and they stay. He'd hire for some companies and he'd run 12 people through there and not a single person would stay. If that's happening to you, wake up. It is you. It is you and your system that is putting people through the meat grinder. It is not them. Now, of course, we've had bad hires and people that didn't work out, of course. But we haven't lost a person in like a year. We went through a time where we lost a lot of people, and then we fixed that. Now we don't really lose people. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes people have to move on and have other stuff, but we don't lose them like in bad circumstances. It's just like time for them to do something else, or they want to do something else. But if people just aren't working out and people are lazy and people just can't follow directions, it can be your hiring process for sure. But you got to look internally at you, what it looks like to work for you. How is it to work for you? Look at the mirror and say, I want to have a world-class chimney company. I want to have the best thing, but I'm going to be a badass leader. I'm going to stand up for the right people. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to be a model for people to look at. And I want to be that person that is the leader, that is fair, kind, generous, grateful, will hold me accountable, will not take any crap from me, will push back on me and help me be better. Man, then all of a sudden it becomes fun. Love employees or hate them. I love them. I can't wait to pour into them. I can't wait to make them successful. I can't wait to see them buy nice cars and have great houses and cool vacations and kids that do stuff. I love that. But you have to care about people enough to pour into them to do that, and then hold them accountable at the same time in a good way, that they don't, that they know that you're doing it to help them. And that's for me, the employee game. I love employees, bring them on. I want more and more employees, and because I can lead them. I know what it takes to lead them, have the faith to lead them, and I want to see them grow. So, all right, guys, ran over time. That was great. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for all the questions that were asked. And then my topic, I'm going to go over some more stuff in the book, because I think there's just some stuff in there that really makes for great topics. I'm going to end up doing a series on YouTube about this, and then I'm going to have it professionally shot and more podcasts done. But I'm starting to turn these back into podcasts on my Blue Collar Boss podcast. So feel free to tune into that, or if you want to send this, it'll be on my Blue Collar Boss on Apple, Spotify, and all that probably by tomorrow. I'll just edit it and send it up there. But I still got a busy night. I still got a bunch to do before I go to bed and start over again tomorrow. So, all right, guys, hope you're doing well. Talk to you soon. See you. Bye.